Hey guys, welcome to some very exciting games that were played between Ian and Ding Liren, and these games were played in the chess.com Speed Chess Championship quarterfinals. There were 3 rounds that were being played. First one was 5 minutes for the entire game plus an increment of 1 second. Then you had 3 minutes with an increment of 1 second, and then 1 minute with an increment of 1 second. So for the first round 12 games were played, for the second 9, and for the third 10 games were played. And I'm going to show you a couple of games from this tournament, this quarterfinal, and let's just get into it. We have Ian with the white pieces and Chef House, that is a nickname for Ding Liren. He has the black pieces. Now we have E4 as an opening by Ian, and now E5. F4, and this is the King's Gambit, and Adolf Anderson's used to play this gambit pretty often, which was quite famous during those days, but these days people don't really play it, and it's completely fine. But you have to be really careful, as nowadays there is a lot of theory on it and you cannot really win from this King's Gambit unless your opponent blunders. Anyways, this is an exciting game, so let's just continue. We have E takes F4, and this is the King's Gambit accepted. Now we have D4. D5, immediately advancing the pawn forward, and now E takes D5, Queen to H4 with a check. And you have to really play this move, mainly because this doesn't allow white to castle, and you have to move this king to E2. That's your only option. The only option, because then you would even get, if you try to push this G pawn to G3, then you simply would get this pawn captures, and then if you cannot really capture with the pawn because your rook is hanging, and then your knight will be attacked, so it's not really a good position to deal with. So because of all that, you have to play your king to E2, and this is just 5th move, and the king is on E2, which is usually what happens in the King's Gambit variations, which is why people don't really prefer. But maybe in a bullet chess like this one, it's completely fine. You have bishop to D6, and now knight to F3, attacking the queen, pushing the queen back, but bishop to G4 is played, so saying, okay, I'm not really going to push my queen back, my queen is going to stay on this wonderful H4 square. You have C4 and simply B6, and now you get queen to E1, which is a novelty in this position, as this position has never been played before. And one of the famous players once said, somebody is a fool if he analyzes any of the blitz games, but that's exactly, or bullet games, but that's exactly what we are doing, so don't worry about it. We're not fools, it's just that it's fun. We have queen to H5, now declining the queen trade, and simply H3, attacking the bishop. But knight to E7, saying, okay, sure, go ahead, capture my bishop, but if you do so, you're going to lose your rook, so it's up to you. Now you get knight to C3, and castles. Finally, black castles, black king is pretty safe. You have h takes G4 and queen takes H1. He's just giving up his rook because he needs to activate all of his pieces, and this is the only way he can activate. So you have king to D2, and now knight to D7. Look at this king, it went first to E2, now it's going to D2, now then it will go to C2, and probably it will go to B1 in a perfect environment. But that might not happen because black will not allow that to happen. So anyways, we have king to C2. Again, king is making that walk. And you have rook A to E8, putting more pressure. And look at this position. I mean, black is completely fine. He's completely safe, and white is completely distorted. There is nothing white can do in this position. You have to develop a lot of your pieces, and only then will you be able to make some progress. But this queen is wonderful here. You even have this rook that's controlling the e5, so pretty crazy position. Now you have queen to f2 and simply knight to f6. you get knight to e5, trying to get some exchanges going in that square, and knight to g6. B takes f4, now knight takes e5, you have d takes e5, knight takes e4, g4, knight takes g4 and queen to g3, attacking this this knight, also putting a lot of pressure on this this bishop. But this is again a completely lost position, so there is nothing white can do. Even though you can try to put some pressure, you're not going to get anywhere. So you have knight takes e5 and simply rook to d1. You have to protect your king, so now the king is going to b1 and probably this pawn will be pushed and you have to hide your king on a2. So, which is exactly why nobody plays this king's gambit these days, because all of this theory has been developed. And now queen to h5, saving your queen, keeping some attack going on the rook. For now, it's not really a threat because this knight nicely defends it. But you can also consider this move as defending move for this knight, which doesn't really need defending. But nonetheless, you have a3, now making some room for the king, and simply queen to f5 with a check, king to b3, and now knight takes c4. Pretty crazy position, mainly because now you have opened up an attack on this bishop, and if you wish you can capture the knight, but then I'm going to capture your bishop and it will be completely over for white. You have bishop to h6, saving the bishop but threatening a checkmate in this position. And now you simply get bishop takes g3, you drop the queen, and this was a very big blunder because he probably did not really see this bishop's attack as he was very low on time. And in this position Ian resigned the game and Ding Liren won an amazing attacking game. Mainly that King's Gambit, he had prepared this line wonderfully, and King's Gambit, he accepted the gambit and won it as well. So if you guys are thinking why did he resign in this position, mainly because you have lost your queen, you have a knight, a rook and a bishop, and two bishops against a queen, a bishop, a knight, a couple of rooks, so it's a completely lost position. This pawn is going to fall soon and there is nothing you can do. I can play out a couple of moves if you guys want me to, which is bishop to d3. Now you attack the queen, you simply get queen to f2, and now bishop takes c4, g takes h6 and rook to c1. h5, you have bishop to b5, rook to e5 and simply king to a2. And there is no point in continuing further because now you're going to capture this pawn. You can promote this pawn to make a queen, and you have this pawn as well. You have this pawn that can queen up, so it's a completely lost position for white. Which is why back in this position it was on move 22 that Ian resigned, and Chef House, which is the nickname or the screen name of Ding Liren, won an amazing game. This was game 1. Now I'm going to show you game 2 that was played, and this is game 2. Here we have Ian Nepomniachtchi with the white pieces and Ding Liren has the black pieces. Now we have e4 as an opening and c6, and this is my favorite Caro Kann defense, which is why I decided to show 2 games instead of 1 today. We have d4 and d5, and this is a pretty quick game, so you don't really have to wait for that long, and it's a pretty interesting game as well. It shows you how important one single move is, because that can decide the fate of a match, and this is exactly what happens in this game. So d5, a pretty standard move. In the Caro Kann, that's how you play. You play the c6, you play d5, then you bring your bishop out, and then you close down this wonderful chain, thereby creating a nice structure with your pawns, for your king. and you also have this bishop outside of this chain. And one of the most important things that you are going to do in this variation is try to exchange off this light square bishop with the opponent's light square bishop, and if the opponent allows it, that is. But if he doesn't allow, that's fine. You just simply hide it in this corner on this h7 square, and then you control this wonderful diagonal. So that's basically the idea behind Caro Kann. Like I said, it's my favorite defense, so I play that pretty often, and I have won a lot of games with this defense as well. So anyways, we have e5, advancing the pawn, and this is the advanced variation of Caro Kann. We have bishop to f5. Like I said, you have to get this bishop out, and then you can even close down the structure by playing e6. Now you have knight to f3 and e6. That is exactly what Ding does. You have c3, and now knight to e7. Bishop to e2, again a developing move, and simply knight to d7. You have knight b to d2 and h6. Again, the idea here is simply to hide your bishop and then control this nice diagonal. You have a4 and a5, not allowing this pawn to advance any further. Now you have castles by white and bishop to h7, hiding the bishop in the corner. You have knight to e1, knight to g6, and bishop to d3. You have bishop to e7 and f4. You have castles by black and simply knight d to f3. You have c5 and g4. Pretty interesting position, because now white is trying to create a pawn storm and try to get some weaknesses going, as the pieces here are kind of cramped, so you want to take advantage of that. And c takes d4, relieving some tension in the center. You have c takes d4 and queen to b6. You have king to h1 and f6, immediately trying to create some weaknesses here on the king side, and opening up this f file, hoping to put some pressure on the f file by doubling up the rooks. You have f5, and now e takes f5, g takes f5, and now knight g takes e5. And this is usually a wonderful sacrifice that black does, especially on the center, because then you can get some majority. But this is kind of an issue in this situation, because you don't really gain anything out of this. You have d takes e5 and simply f takes e5. You definitely have a couple of pawns that are passed pawns, but not enough advantage. You can definitely push this pawn forward, attack these two pieces. So bishop to b5 has to be played, and b takes f5. You have queen takes d5 with a check, and bishop to e6, attacking the queen. You have queen to e4, knight to c5, and this is a position where I'm going to ask you guys to pause the video and try to find the correct combination for white to play. Of course, your queen is attacked here, so your first thought would be to defend your queen, which is exactly correct. The correct move to play, and for any of you who found it, congratulations, was queen takes e5, simply eliminating the piece and getting a nice center. And in this position, black doesn't really have anything to show for, because he actually lost a piece for a couple of pawns, but that's not enough compensation. If you look, you have two bishops against two bishops, two knights against a single knight, which is where the compensation goes in the favor of white. But even though these pieces are active, this is a winning position for white. Now you get queen to d6, you have queen takes d6, bishop takes d6, and simply bishop to e3. You finally develop your bishop. Next you're going to bring your knight forward and have a wonderful game. You even get rook to a to d8, trying to control this file, and you can play rook to d1. You can also control this file as well. So this is winning for white, and this is what should have been played. But after knight to c5, the losing move that Ding Liren played, actually Ian Nepomniachtchi played, was bishop to e3. And this is pretty crazy. So this is a good position for you guys to pause the video and try to find the correct winning combination for Ding Liren. And the correct combination is not to capture the queen, but instead you have to play queen captures the bishop on b5. Because now if you capture this queen, then you can capture this queen, and now you are up the material. You have actually gotten back the knight that you lost. So this is what this is what was played in the game. You have queen to g6 with a weird move, not even capturing this queen. He just simply moved away with the queen, and now you get queen to f1 with a check, simply capturing, and there is no tricks here that white can play. And this was the final position on the board where Ian Nepomniachtchi resigned the game as he realized there was nothing he can do. I mean, he could put his queen here on g1 and now you are simply going to get rook takes f3, and this is completely lost position. There is nothing you can do in this position. You even get queen takes f1, rook takes f1, king to g2, rook a to f8, rook to d1, and bishop to b3. Now you're attacking the rook. You have rook to a1, bishop to d5 with a check, king to g3, rook 8 to f6, rook 8 to f6, and now h4. You have to play rook to g6 with a check, and this is checkmate in 4 moves, so I hope you all can find it. The combination starts with bishop to g5. You get bishop takes g5, h takes g5, rook takes g5 with a check, king to h2, and rook to h1. This is checkmate. So even though the 2 games that I showed were won by Ding Liren, those were the best games, which is why I showed you these games. And Caro Kann is my favorite defense, so I was going to show you this game nonetheless. But in reality, Ian Nepomniachtchi won this quarterfinal, and he's going to the semifinals now, and we don't know who the opposition is yet, because there are a couple of quarterfinals going on as we speak. So that's it from today. I would like to thank all my subscribers for subscribing to the channel and showing a great support. I really appreciate it. That's all from the video. Namaste. See you next time.